Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. He's the statistician of the stars. His name is Padawan J.
Let me talk to you.
And boy, do we have a lot to talk about in the land of sports.
Those of you with children might not want to listen to the third segment.
Yeah, because we are actually going to be skipping our last segment of one-shots to devote extra time to arguably the biggest sports story in
the state of New York, at least.
In New York, in the nation, if you will.
Yeah.
There's a lot to break down involving the biggest sports contract signing ever. So this edition of the ODPH Sports Show is going to be 3 segments, and there's a lot to digest and a lot to talk about after the show. So, Pad, where does everybody go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
If you're looking for social media links, we got them there. TeePublic Store links. Shout out to everybody who's been buying merch there. I've been seeing the sales come in. It truly means the absolute world that you're buying stuff there. It's always great to see. Also, the blog section is updated there. The friends of the show on the classified section, such as 3FM Podcast, Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative, and more. The directory. Pat, how many providers are we on?
We are on 728,450.
And his source?
Trust me, bro.
Exactly. So wherever you're listening to the ODPH on, please drop a review on your favorite podcatcher. It definitely helps the algorithm of the show. Last but certainly not least, we have a fantastic music section with such bands as Brian Wolf and the Howlers, Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Shout Out the Robots and Floodlands. Definitely some real cool music that you want to have in your collection, especially if you're looking for a unique gift for the holiday season. There it is.
So if you're going to get stuck in that holiday traffic, you might as well have something to listen to.
Indeed, indeed. And for anything else that is the ODPH, you can always find it at odphpodcast.com. And remember, on social media, to use the hashtag ODPHpod. Kicking off this edition of the sports world, we have to go into what we always talk about this time of year, and that is the NFL season and the week that was. So, Pad, let's recap week 15 with locks and leaps.
So we're going to jump into my lock, which was the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Carolina Panthers, which they did by the final score of 22-16. Jalen Hurts, 14-21, 108 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Bryce Young, 19-34, 191 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Chuba Hubbard led the way for Carolina in rushing with 26 carries, 92 yards, 1 touchdown. Saquon Barkley, 20 carries, 124 yards, no touchdowns though. And then for Philadelphia, it was A.J. Brown leading receiving with 4 catches, 43 yards, no touchdowns. And then for Carolina, Adam Thielen, 9 catches, 102 yards receiving, no touchdowns though. Holy hell.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a throwback to his Minnesota days.
Yeah, it really is for all of like 6 months.
Yes, and I do have to make a correction. We are talking week 14. It's been that kind of week in the world of sports.
You're not kidding.
The days are blending, but in the case of Carolina and Philadelphia, the biggest takeaway is Philly needs to be thanking whoever they can thank that Saquon Barkley decided to join this team because there is definitely a problem of some sort between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts.
And they're playing it down right now as we record. They're like, oh, there's no issue. We're perfectly fine. But he thinks they doth protest too much.
I am not saying it's on the level of Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens.
Well, A.J. Brown's not doing sit-ups in his driveway yet.
Right.
So, yeah, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet, but there is a big disconnect, and it's showing on the field.
Who's A.J. Brown's agent? Let's find this out.
In the meantime, we have to definitely give the flowers where they deserve to go. Saquon Barkley would be the MVP front runner if it was not for Josh Allen.
It is not Drew Rosenhaus. Okay, we might be good.
Okay. Barkley has been lights out.
Barkley has turned the dial back to his Penn State days.
Oh yeah,
since
he's joined the Eagles, he's been great.
This is a guy that, as a Penn State fan, he's going to be dynamic as hell when he hits the pro level. And then the Giants were the Giants, and mismanagement and fumbles. And,
you can just say the Giants. It's fine.
The Giants happened. And I'm like, what the hell happened to the guy that was like a dynamic dual threat, in college? And, well, he found it.
He found it, and he showed out when he needs to, because this team desperately needs him. And the fact that Carolina, who is not a good team by any stretch of the imagination, was this close to stealing this game.
They contended.
I mean, I'm not saying Philly is in a panic mode, but there's a lot of concern that they should be keeping eyes on.
Carolina had a lead going into the fourth quarter.
Oh, exactly. And Philly is lucky they snuck it out.
Yep.
So going into the playoffs, I mean, obviously they have locked up the NFC East. That's no question about that.
This is correct.
But after that, I would be.
Well, they've got a playoff berth right now. They haven't clinched the division yet.
It's more or less.
But
locked up.
it's a foregone conclusion.
I was going to say, I mean, it takes some kind of crazy moving and shaking for the Commanders to overtake them.
Considering they're 3 wins ahead of them in that column, and of them, I should say, the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
In both the wins and loss column, it'd take a massive collapse.
Yeah. So that being said, it's not happening.
Probably not.
Philly will lock up that division, but the only thing that I'd be worried about if I'm a Philadelphia fan, and like I say, it's something to keep an eye on for concern. This team is not gelling.
No,
they're sneaking out wins.
They're good, and it's the numbers are good. 4 sacks from Jalen Hurts. The team gave up 5 quarterback hits. So they're not bad, but they're like, one away. Okay, a little down for a normal Jalen game. Saquon numbers, but you get past AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, 37 yards on 4 catches, 1 touchdown. Cal Satera, 3 catches, 16 yards, 1 touchdown. Kenneth Gainwell, 2 for 7. Jahan Dotson, 1 for 5. Barkley did have a target through the air. He didn't catch it though. And then Johnny Wilson did have a target, but he didn't catch it. So, it just seems like there might be a little bit of a miscommunication between the two. Something might have got lost in translation, as the saying goes.
Well, you have to think they've been so successful over the years.
Yeah.
That now it's not showing up. There's obviously production issues gone down.
Yeah.
That's weighing heavy on the team. They're
putting up points like crazy, though.
Well, they're still putting up points, but that's a lot due to Barkley.
This is true.
And since he's come over, that's changed the dynamic.
This is true.
The dynamic is all different for this team. So instead of being the more aerial attack, they're very well balanced, and I think that is tolerable as long as they're winning. However, though, this is something that as they're going into the playoffs, they're going to need to make sure that they're on the same page about what the philosophy is going to be.
Yep.
Because I truly feel if they had to go face Detroit right now, there would be some problems. If you had to face whoever comes out of the West in that number 1 seed, I think they would have some problems.
Right now, as we currently record, the way the brackets look, the 2-seeded Philadelphia Eagles would be facing the 7th-seeded Washington Commanders in the first round of the playoffs.
And then if they had to face the winner, if it held up Green Bay or Seattle, I'm not saying that's a lock for them to win.
No,
I really am not.
Seattle's quietly very good.
They're quietly very good, and
even if they have to face Tampa Bay.
Well, that's
because I know it's the lowest seed goes and faces the 1 seed.
Yeah, that's the whole point with that is the other teams that are in the playoffs will give them fits because they are not on the same page.
Yeah,
and they need to find the way on the same page. And if they can't get it together, they're going to be one and done in the playoffs. I don't care if they're facing the Commanders even.
Yeah.
They need to lock it in. They've got a couple more weeks to do it.
Division game, you always toss out any guarantees or any expectations out the window for that. Throw in the fact it's a playoff game, forget about it.
Well, I was going to say, Washington took the L when they faced them last time.
This is true.
But it wasn't by much. And
you want a litmus test? Wait 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, when they have to face them again.
In Washington.
Well, let's talk
Maryland,
about
whatever.
Because Philly's got a tough road ahead of them.
Yeah, they do. So their final month of the regular season, this upcoming Sunday, they're at home playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 16, they're on the road playing the Washington Commanders. Week 17, they're at home against the Dallas Cowboys. And then they close out the regular season at home against the New York Giants.
3 division games to close out the season.
Plus a Pittsburgh team that has been at least a little bit decent the last couple of weeks.
Well, Pittsburgh will come in with a little more chip on their shoulder, so to speak. So it's not going to be an easy route for them to get out of there.
No.
As for Carolina, the only takeaways you can have from this is maybe Bryce Young is going to be serviceable after all.
Might be the guy. A little work, a little assistance, a little, what would you say, a little depth chart assistance there.
Well, I think he's handled the adversity that he's gone through, and I think, honestly, him sitting behind Andy Dalton has been immeasurable. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that he's allowed to sit, which is the one thing that, had he done this at the start of his career, we might be talking about a different Bryce Young. But the fact he got to sit, he got to learn. Dalton's a good teacher. He's a very good quarterback. Am I saying he's lights out? No, not at this stage of the game.
I just want to point out one thing because I had to double check. I thought I knew where he went to college. I wanted to double check. He did go to Alabama.
Oh, of course.
So I want to bring up, and this is from personal experience, recent history with a certain former Alabama quarterback that I had to root for that his first year was very good. You know, wasn't necessarily. He was in contention, if I remember correctly, for the Rookie of the Year award. Didn't win it, but he was in contention. And then we saw what happened after that.
Well, we have been very public on this show about Alabama quarterbacks transitioning to the NFL. And same thing with USC.
AJ McCarron, where are you?
They have not exactly been what we say lights out.
Nope.
And in this situation, Bryce Young was thrown into it way too soon.
Absolutely.
And he had no real talent around him in Carolina to work with. So, yeah, that definitely took a toll on him. He got pulled for Andy Dalton, got to sit behind him, which helps. Like I say, the fact that the teams throw rookie quarterbacks in their game one is still not the way to be. You take a look at how Green Bay does it. And how many times they've drafted a number one quarterback or a quarterback in the first round. Well, this is a number one quarterback.
Yeah.
And they've had him sit on a bench for 2 years. And then they come in and they're lights out.
Oh, yeah.
Wonder why. So Carolina did no service to him prior to, but pulling him for Dalton, he was allowed to sit and learn. That's why he's vastly improved from where he needs to be.
Right.
Am I saying he's going to be a shutdown quarterback? No, by no means.
No.
I think, though, he will salvage his career, that if he's not going to be the guy for Carolina, he will be a guy for another team as a number 2 backup.
So it's a good start.
It's a good start, and it's something he should capitalize on. So the more he can catch this and get up to speed, he's making Carolina presentable.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he took it to the Chiefs and the Eagles.
3-point loss to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And only a 6-point loss to the Eagles.
I don't want to say good losses, but in this situation, I think the fact they kept it this close, that's something to build on going into next season.
Yeah. Just to give them their due, the final month of the regular season for the Carolina Panthers, upcoming Sunday, they're at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Week 16 at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Week 17 on the road playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then Week 18 on the road playing the Atlanta Falcons.
So they've got some work to do, obviously, to finish out the season, but nothing super crazy. No. The big story here is Philadelphia is, I don't want to say imploding at the wrong time.
They're very odd because the start of the season wasn't that great. Then they improved. Now they're regressing.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that need to get improved there. Will they find a way to do it by the time playoffs are in full swing is anybody's guess.
Philly fans sure hope so.
Yeah.
Then we get to my leap, which was, I took a flyer on this one. The leaps weren't great this week.
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't. But I chose the LA Chargers to beat the Kansas City Chiefs because Kansas City looked beatable this season. But I was wrong because the Kansas City Chiefs, with the doink heard around the world, beat the LA Chargers, I should say, by the final score of 19-17. Patrick Mahomes, 24-37, 210 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Justin Herbert, 21-30, 213 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Gus Edwards led the way for LA in rushing with 10 carries, 36 yards, 1 touchdown. Isaiah Pacheco led the way for Kansas City with 14 carries, 55 yards, no touchdowns. Travis Kelce led the way for Kansas City in receiving with 5 catches, 45 yards, no touchdowns. And Joshua Palmer led the way for LA with 6 catches, 78 yards, and no touchdowns.
Kansas City is the most overrated one-loss team in the entire league. Maybe in recent memory.
Yeah.
This game proves it. The fact that they lucked out at the worst possible time for the Chargers is truly something. And to see how they're doing this, I'm not saying team of destiny because that is very much not the case here. They're just the luckiest sons of guns on the planet.
I'll say that with the backup kicker Or no, sorry, that was the other. No, yeah, they're
Yeah, it was.
they're on their backup kicker. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was thinking of the Bengals game. No, on their backup kicker, at what was essentially, I forget what the exact yardage is. I'm sure I can look it up. But like on what should have been a chip shot, the fact that it went super left and hit the left upright and bounced in through the upright to win them the division at the 31-yard field goal. So what's the standard extra point? 25, 30 yards?
Yep.
Something like that. So it's an extra point. The fact that he almost shanked it to the left, just shows they are the goddamn luckiest team. And I was talking to a friend of ours who we know is a very diehard Chiefs fan. Not a bandwagon Chiefs fan either.
No, legit one.
Legit one. Like he owns a Joe Montana Chiefs jersey. Like he is that big a fan. I was talking to him the other day, and I'm like, listen, they're winning, but I think all talk of a three-peat has to go out the window because unless they, to flip the switch and all of a sudden remember who they are, they're not going to go very far in the playoffs. They might win a game if they're lucky, but they're not going all the way.
The big question mark with this team is if they get in there, can they get hot like the Giants used to do when they got into the playoffs?
Oh, God, yeah, playoff Eli.
Right.
I still have nightmares about that.
Which, in my opinion, if they have home field advantage throughout, that's a legit chance.
Yeah.
It's a legit one.
It is. And right now they got it.
Right. So they need to keep winning, albeit though Pittsburgh is right behind them, Buffalo's right behind them.
Yeah.
Where the Chiefs have lucked out, that's the only thing salvaging the season for them. Because I truly feel if they have to go travel on the road to a Baltimore, they're going to struggle. If they have to go to Pittsburgh, they're going to struggle.
Yeah.
If they have to go to Bills, I'm not saying this because I'm a fan. I legit think they're going to struggle.
Yeah. They would.
They need to have home field advantage throughout to really make a run.
No, they do.
And I will go on record and say this. If they win this year,
Okay.
they're not going to win another one next year.
Probably not.
I think this is the last run for Mahomes and Kelsey.
The chips in the armor, are there.
Oh, completely.
Whereas they look. Like, remember the last couple of years they were doing video game stuff where like they do the ring around the rosy and spin in circles and all this other bullshit before they like they're not even doing any of all that. They're barely winning.
They're barely winning, and the thing that we have said time and time again, NFL teams start breaking down videos. They start looking at tape. They can start figuring out a way to stop great quarterbacks. And in Mahomes' case, what he's been able to get away with these past few years, he can't get away with much as he used
Correct.
to. Like he's still pulling off great plays, like the one that he threw basically cross chest.
Oh yeah.
For the conversion on fourth down in the fourth quarter. That is one that stands out. But he can't do it all the time. Travis Kelce has been taken out of most game plans. So you're forcing DeAndre Hopkins, who's not the D-Hop of old.
God, I didn't realize until they said it. I was watching this game. I didn't realize how long he'd been in the league until they said it.
Oh, yeah.
He's been in the league like 10 years.
So he's on that twilight run of his career.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy is not there yet.
Here's the crazy thing, too, because I'm looking up Kelsey's numbers. We're in week 14 of the regular season, folks. Travis Kelce has 2 touchdowns for this entire season.
Yeah. Teams have neutralized him.
He is tied for 87th in the NFL with for his touchdowns. He's got 80 catches, tied for 6, which, okay, yeah, that makes sense. 682 yards, 35th in the NFL. And then he's averaging 8.5 yards a catch, which for a tight end in the NFL these days, that's average.
Yeah, it's completely average. So in his case, I think he's already 1 foot out the door anyway. He's doing too much on TV. He's doing which is fine. Like
he's got he's got like some Amazon game show.
He's got smarter. It's like smarter than a 5th grader or something like that.
It's a variation of that. Yeah.
Yeah. He has some show like that.
Him and his brother have got the podcast that's now signed on with Amazon. I think he's done after this year.
And like, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. He's at that age where he starts declining. Yeah. And the thing that we have to give the devil his due about this, Kelsey was this team's offense for many, many years.
Oh yeah.
He was the only option for many years. So I can't take a shot at him like that. I just think that at this day and age, teams have figured out if you can stop him, you're really making Mahomes work, and Mahomes has gotten lucky. Yeah. Because his wide receiver core is nothing to write home about.
It never has been since Tyreek Hill left. And even when Tyreek Hill was there, okay, that's one guy.
Right.
Like, is it the lights out, receiving core? No.
No, but at least that was a solid 1-2 punch. I mean, Tyreek Hill is an all-pro.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Looking at the rest of his roster that he has for his wide receiver core, no, not really. I mean, Worthy,
He's a rookie.
the case is still out on him.
Yeah, he's a rookie. We don't know.
Yeah.
But
Smith-Schuster, no.
Smith-Schuster actually showed up partially for this. 2 catches, 31 yards. He had the 20-yard catch, I think it was like late in the game, and I'm like, holy shit, he actually showed up.
Yeah. But other than that, there's nothing to write home about.
But again, Patriots fans were wondering why we got rid of him. 14 catches, 202 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry.
Slightly better than what he did last year, but Christ, with Patrick Mahomes, that ain't hard to do.
No, it's not hard to do at all. But in his case, that's the only thing he had going for him in that direction.
It's under what he had for all of last year. He finished with 260.
Yeah. So that being said, Case, it's like there's not really a lot to write home about there.
No.
The Chargers gave them all they could, but the Chargers were the Chargers.
Yeah.
They had chances to finish this game. They didn't.
One of the most inconsistent teams in all of football.
Completely. And I think for Justin Herbert, he's doing everything he can in his power.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs snuck one away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing he can do because the defense did not hold when they needed to hold.
Yeah.
And that's a situation that is always going to hold this team back. I don't care if Harbaugh's the head coach. This team always struggles to finish games until some player steps up to become the closer on this team for him. This is what you're going to get every time.
Yep.
Sorry to be a little super critical about the Chargers, but we've seen
it is what it is.
They have such a dynamic offense, but that defense falters at the worst possible times.
Mm-hmm.
And this situation, they just needed to make a real stop in that fourth quarter and couldn't do it. So on to the playoffs for the Chiefs. Obviously, they want to win out to hold on to number one status.
Yeah.
How are they looking on that, Pat?
So this upcoming Sunday, they're actually on the road playing the Cleveland Browns. Week 16 Saturday game at home against the Houston Texans. That'll be an afternoon NBC game. It'll be on NBC and Peacock. Week 17 Wednesday game, Christmas Day, on the road playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. That one will be on Netflix. And then Week 18 on the road playing the Denver Broncos.
So there's a couple interesting scenarios there. Cleveland is great for fantasy owners.
Yeah, it is.
Because between Winston and Mahomes, it's going to be about a 40-point game.
Defense optional.
Yep. But then
word of advice: don't start Kansas City or Cleveland defense that week.
Yeah. But the other 3 games are very enticing. Houston is going to be a good benchmark to see if they're ready for the playoffs. Pittsburgh, that could be for the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
That legit could be.
Yeah, it could be.
And then Denver, I mean, that could be a play to stay in. Like, there's a couple different factors going on there.
Yeah.
So that is not going to be an easy road for them to go. They just need to make sure they stay healthy. Pacheco coming back is huge.
Denver currently the number 7 seed, and they are the 7 seed because both the Chargers and Ravens, who are ahead of them, have to win the tiebreakers.
Yeah. But still, you still have the Colts and the Dolphins hovering around. I mean, anything is possible.
This is true. And then for the LA Chargers, next couple weeks, this upcoming Sunday, they are at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Week 16, Thursday night game on Prime Video. They'll be playing the Denver Broncos. Week 17, on the road, playing the New England Patriots. God help me.
Yeah.
And then week 18, on the road, playing the Las Vegas Raiders.
Interesting way to close out the year, but
yeah.
I mean, that could be the Raiders. I don't doubt pulling off an upset, possibly.
It depends on who shows up because at this point they're hurt like hell.
Exactly, but that could be another big time implication for the Chargers to get in. I remember a Sunday night football game years ago where the Raiders stole that right from the Chargers, and I mean, not to any Raiders fans' shock, because I was sitting with Rich from 3FN watching that, and I know we kept hearing about how the Chargers were going to absolutely come back and take that game, and just sadly did not.
Yep.
But talking about teams that are struggling to get by.
Jesus Christ.
We can't script this. We can't script this.
You could pitch this to Hollywood, and Hollywood would say, yeah, no, that's not believable.
So to Dre Driven, we're giving you fair warning. We have to break this game down, so we're going to do it like we do spoiler talk in 3, 2, 1. Boy, Dallas finds a way.
Yeah, they do.
To grab failure from the jaws of victory.
Yeah.
And for Cincinnati, it's a step in the right direction, albeit too little, too late. But the ending of this game is what everybody is remembering about it, so let's get into it.
Stuff a legend. This was the Cincinnati Bengals defeated the Dallas Cowboys 27-20. Joe Burrow, 33 of 44, 369 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Cooper Rush, 16 of 31, 183 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Rico Dowdle led the way for Dallas in rushing with 18 carries, 131 yards rushing, and 1 touchdown. Lisa Simpson was better, just saying.
Yeah.
Chase Brown led the way for Cincinnati with 14 carries, 58 yards, no touchdowns. Jamar Chase led the way for Cincinnati in receiving with 14 catches, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ralph was better, just saying. And then for Dallas, it was C.D. Lamb with 6 catches, 93 yards, and 1 touchdown.
This game was not a good one.
Just want to point out, Bengals undefeated in the Simpsons era.
This is true. It was a lot closer than I thought it should have been.
Yeah.
Dallas has been very plagued by injuries. Cincinnati, their defense has let them down at the worst possible time. I think if it wasn't for the Chargers, technically, no, I have to take that back. I apologize.
Okay.
Cincinnati's defense has let them down worse than anybody this year.
Yeah, this is very true.
If their defense held up, this team is probably the number 1 seed in the NFL.
Probably.
Not going to lie. Not going to lie one bit. But the ending of this game is what everybody's talking about.
Uh-huh.
Cincinnati came back, tied it late, and then it was a blocked field goal by Dallas. And instead of letting the ball just drift away, a Dallas player grabbed it.
Yep.
And it dropped out of his hands. Cincinnati recovered. Literally 2 plays later, with under 2 minutes, Jamar Chase ran it into the end zone. This is probably one of the worst losses for a team I think I've seen on recent memory.
Yeah, I can't, nothing really other than the, and sorry to bring this up, but the Cardinals-Bills game.
Yep.
You know, where it was the Hail Mary, like, fuck it, DeAndre's down there somewhere. This was one of the wildest endings I've ever seen.
That was wild, but this is just fundamentally bad. Because you have that block, and then you try to recover it, and it doesn't happen, and then you literally give the ball right back to Cincinnati. Like, this is something out of a movie.
Yeah.
So the fact that Dallas lost in this manner, I mean, this might be what loses Mike McCarthy his job.
Probably.
It's hard to say. I know Jerry Jones has not came out publicly and said yes or no either way.
It's also not a good look when one of your star defensive players is videoed on a national broadcast. Like, this ain't some, fan on the 50-yard line, first row videotaping this. Nah, ESPN caught this, and mind you, in case you didn't watch this game for whatever reason, this game was on ABC, so it was on fucking national television.
Yep.
But one of your star, if not your number 1 star defensive player, and Micah Parsons, was seen walking off the field before the game was over.
Yeah.
That's not a good look.
No, it's not. And I think it just boils over the frustration Dallas has had.
Yeah.
Dallas, unfortunately, losing Dak is really hurting.
Oh, God, yeah.
That defense is banged up.
Yeah.
I mean, they had more injuries happening left and right with this one. It's just a bad season going worse and worse by each week.
Yeah.
And I think for them, it's just let's get to the offseason and regroup.
And they've only got the number 12 overall pick in the draft.
Right, but they could still try making some moves and move. Hopefully Jerry Jones, if you're a Cowboys fan, can do something.
I'll tell you this. Fucking, you want to give the Patriots your pick, make a real sexy offer, because Patriots are sitting at number 3 right now. You can get it, because there ain't no fucking Giants are number 2. There ain't no way you're getting the number 2 pick. I doubt you'll get the number 1 pick because the Raiders have got the number 1 pick right now. But you know what? Get a real sexy offer to the Patriots. I'm sure the Patriots would talk to you about a swap.
You never know. I mean, that's the whole thing Jerry wants to do. If he wants to move up and go get
somebody,
I was going to say Travis Hunter from Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one I could see them making a move up for. I don't think he's going to go number 1 in the draft. But the draft is really wide open this year. I know there isn't any clear-cut favorites in my opinion.
There's a bunch of the same names people are throwing up, but there's not one that's like overall, yes, you are the guy.
Right. But in that situation, I think Dallas just needs to retool, and I think it ultimately comes down to McCarthy. I mean, you can say it's injuries all you want, but under his tutelage, it has not really lit it up.
Yeah.
And I think that has been a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, too, is let's face it, Dak is 31 years old. He turns 32. He'll be 32 by the time the next season rolls around. And I think if this has shown anything, I'm not saying you have to replace him.
No, but you should get a backup, though.
You should get a backup, and you should have something for down the road in weight. Because let's face it, Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre for, 4 years?
Yep.
Before he actually started. If let's just say, if you're listening at home, pick one of the fucking top 3, 4 quarterbacks in college right now. Let's just say Dallas is able to get one of them. If he were to sit behind Dak for 3-4 years at that. So at that point, Dak will be 35, 36 years old, and then hey, you move on from him, and you start the new guy. That's not a bad situation. Now, like I said, we're not saying you got to replace him, but you do need something in place because clearly your backup situation sucks.
Well, here's the thing. One, Jerry would never do that. If Jerry goes and gets a number one, he's going to want them to start fairly soon.
Probably.
That's the problem there. It's just it is how Dallas is. They're going to want an immediate starter to come in there. And with Dak, I think you have to start thinking of the future. I think you need to start taking a look. Maybe not the first round, but maybe the second round.
He does have an out for his contract after the 2027 season.
Right.
If he doesn't, then it's another year, and he'll be a free agent in the 2029 season.
But either way, they're going to need to come up with some solutions, and they don't have one right now.
No, they really don't.
No, I mean, Dak getting hurt. I mean, injuries happen in football all the time.
Yeah.
Their defense, though, is really plagued.
Yeah, they are.
And I'm sorry, this is just a lost season for them.
Yep.
5-8. I know maybe mathematically they're still in it somewhere somehow, but I don't think so.
I think they technically still are, but they're real close to being
right. But I think that right now it's just let's get to the offseason and regroup. If McCarthy stays, I'd be shocked. I mean, if you want to give me a percentage that he stays, I'll say 30.
So I'm looking at the playoff standings, and especially the NFC right now. Technically, the only team in the NFC that's eliminated right now are the Giants.
Yeah.
That's not to say Carolina and Chicago are going to make a run and get to the playoffs, but mathematically, they're still in it.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that being said, I think they just need to get the offseason. And then for Cincinnati, they're going to have a lot of questions in the offseason as well, as far as keeping their wide receiver core somewhat together. Jamar Chase, obviously, his contract is still up in the air. T. Higgins. Well,
no, Jamar, I think they locked up. T. Higgins is the one that I think his contract is up. And I heard a rumor today that I'm all right with.
Yeah, I heard T. Higgins to New England no matter what.
That they're going to offer him the house.
Yeah, which, is
the word I heard.
Well, they franchised him last year, so it's going to take a lot to get him out of there. I think he'd be a great addition for Drake May.
Yeah.
They're going to need to get him a true number one.
Well, listen, I love Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne ain't a number one.
He's not a one.
He's a two.
He's not a one.
Yeah.
But then the Jamar Chase's situation, like I said, I don't think they've locked him up. I think they've more or less said they've decided what they're going to do. And I think that's what they're going to have to really kind of settle down with Chase and get him locked in.
Jamar's almost locked up. He is on a 4-year, $30+ million deal. He is technically in the final year of that, but there is a club option for 2025.
Right, but
so odds are, given the situation, they'll pick up that for the 25 season because that'll pay Jamar $21.8 million, and then after that in the 2026 season he'll be a free agent.
No, they'll retool it.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing. If they lose T. Higgins, they'll retool it and they'll have money to play with.
Yeah,
and they need to lock him up because I think you take him away from Burrow, there's going to be some problems.
Probably.
So in Cincinnati, I mean, that's what they should be focusing on right now is defense in the draft and get some players in there and really establish that side of the ball.
Yeah.
Offensively, they're fine.
Yeah. Offensively, they're pretty solid.
Right. Burrow has played more or less a full season without issues. So, what else can you say there?
So for the next couple of weeks in the final month of the regular season for the Cincinnati Bengals, this upcoming Sunday, they're on the road playing the Tennessee Titans. Week 16 at home against the Cleveland Browns. Week 17 at home against the Denver Broncos. And then Week 18 on the road playing Pittsburgh Steelers.
There'll be some tough matchups, but I do like if you're a fantasy owner, Cincinnati's going to have a good stretch down to your Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. And then for the Dallas Cowboys, this upcoming Sunday, they are on the road playing the Carolina Panthers. Week 16 at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. Week 17 on the road playing the Philadelphia Eagles. And then Week 18 at home against the Washington Commanders.
A lot of moving parts happening there, but for Dallas, let's just get to the offseason. Because their future is not bright.
No.
In comparison to the best team in football. Mm-hmm. So definitely shout out to Brubaker's Muse. Shout out to Casey, the nerdy photographer. They have been diehard Detroit fans since I have known them, and they are definitely celebrating about
As
this.
you should.
Because what a game Thursday night. And it really shows what Green Bay is made of, too. So let's get into it.
Yeah, the Detroit Lions beat the Green Bay Packers 34-31. Jared Goff, 32 of 41, 283 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jordan Love, 12 of 20, 206 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Josh Jacobs led the way for Green Bay in rushing with 18 carries, 66 yards, another hat trick for him, 3 touchdowns. David Montgomery led the way for Detroit with 14 carries, 51 yards, and 1 touchdown. For receiving on Detroit, it was Jamison Williams with 5 catches, 80 yards, and no touchdowns. And for Green Bay, it was Christian Watson, 4 catches, 114 yards. Good Lord. No touchdowns.
Well, this one, it can be summed up by we're going for it.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell, I mean, who should be coach of the year? I don't think there's any question about
If anybody else wins it, I'm calling rigged.
I am too. What he has done with Detroit in his tenure is he has given them an identity. He's given them toughness. He has been a coach that you're sitting there hearing him talk to his players.
He's also given most of that fan base something I don't think they've ever had in their collective lives. Super Bowl hopes.
Well, that's what I was going with before he jumped in there.
Sorry.
He's given them, if you're hearing what he's saying, hope. He's inspiring them. Yeah. He's got that whole fan base fired up for it. And with that being said, it's now carrying on the field that they're having a certain swagger to them.
Yeah.
That you're really seeing the fruits of that labor come to the head. And the fact they went for it on 4th down late, setting up Jake Bates for his field goal, that was huge. And that solidified a win over a team that, listen, Green Bay is going to get into the playoffs and they're going to make noise. I'm not sure how far they're going to go, but they're going to make noise.
I had to look it up because, admittedly, I'm not familiar with when it was. So Detroit's technically, and I say technically with italicized words, won a championship. They won 4 NFL championships. Now, this is pre-AFL NFL merger,
correct?
So it's not the Super Bowl. They won 4. One in 1935, one in 1952, third one in 1953, and the other in 1957. So those wonderful fans have not seen a championship game for their fan base since the Dwight Eisenhower administration.
Yep.
It's been that goddamn long.
It's been that long, but that's the whole thing, that they have never had culture up there.
Also, I'm looking at the box score for that game. Not even close. 59-14 over Cleveland. Good Lord.
Well, that's what we say. With Detroit now, they're walking with a lot of confidence. And especially after losing Aiden Hutchinson, after losing a couple of their key players.
Yeah.
They're still winning, and they're winning gritty. I mean, this is not a situation like Kansas City where they're getting a lot of luck.
No.
You could say going on 4th down is lucky, but this is something Dan Campbell's done his entire tenure as coach.
He's known for it.
Yeah, this is not something that they're relying on too much to get by. They're winning gritty.
I mean, I read you the stats. 283 from Goff. Montgomery had 51. I'll read you some of the other ones. Jahmyr Gibbs had 43 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is on the ground, by the way. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 10. Goff, 7. You look at the other receivers. Sam Laporta, 54. Tim Patrick, 43 yards receiving. St. Brown, 43. Montgomery, 33. Gibbs, 30. Brock Wright, none. Like, I'm not sitting here reading Randy Moss on Thanksgiving, which, by the way, get well soon, Randy Moss.
Yeah.
I'm not reading Randy Moss on Thanksgiving Day against the Cowboys numbers. These are good numbers if you got any of these guys in fantasy, but they're not exactly like put it in the Hall of Fame highlight reels.
Right. But it's something that they can build off of, and they're spreading the ball out. I mean, Jared Goff has played very solidly.
It's that next man up mentality.
Right. And that's what they live in, and they live by.
Yeah.
And that's something that this team has really established, that if they are number 1 seed in that playoffs, I don't know if anybody beats them outright.
Yeah, well, they're number 1 right now.
They're going to have a very big challenge from certain teams to get in there. I think if they have to face Green Bay again, that's going to be a problem. If they have to face Seattle, that could be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Minnesota could be a quiet problem that not a lot of people are talking about.
Well, like I said, they're number 1 right now, so at the least, they'd have to face Washington, Green Bay, or Minnesota.
Yeah.
Or possibly Tampa Bay.
Right.
Because I'm going low, because they can't face Seattle. Because
the seeding.
Just because of the way the seeding works. So it'd be Green Bay, Tampa Bay, or Minnesota.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Minnesota, division game, division opponent, they give them fits, but I don't see it happening.
No, Minnesota would give them problems. But I mean, anything could happen. That's the one problem that with that NFC North, they're all stacked up there, with the exception of Chicago.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's enough said there.
Yeah.
But for Detroit, they're going to need to win outright. They do have a tough game coming up this week.
Yeah.
And then after that, I mean, destiny's in their hands.
This is true. So for this upcoming Sunday, the Detroit Lions will be at home against the Buffalo Bills. Week 16, they're on the road playing the Chicago Bears. Week 17, on the road for Monday Night Football playing the San Francisco 49ers. Then week 18, possible playoff matchup preview at home against the Minnesota Vikings. Then for the Green Bay Packers, their final month of the regular season, this upcoming Sunday, they are on the road playing the Seattle Seahawks. That one will be on Sunday Night Football. Well, week 16, they'll be back on primetime, this time Monday Night Football, with a home game against the New Orleans Saints. Week 17, on the road playing the Minnesota Vikings. Week 18, at home against the Chicago Bears. God, fucking Chicago in fucking January.
Yeah.
Hey. Well, TBD, it's a flex game. Every game week 18 is TBD on date and time, so we'll see when that is. But it's December 29th is week 17. It's going to be in January.
Oh, it's going to be in January. It's
January,
going to be cold.
January in Chicago. No thanks.
Yeah, it's going to be one heck of a way to finish out the season for both teams. And we'll have to wait to see when they get in the playoffs how they're going to wind up going.
Yeah.
Because it's literally wide open in the NFC West.
This is very true.
Or the NFC period.
Yeah, no, this is true.
With that being said, let's recap Week 14.
Yeah.
And take it home.
The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Tennessee Titans 10-6.
Glad I didn't watch that game. That's two very, very bad teams.
You like to read the Christian Kirk stat line. Did not play this game.
No, he's out the season.
He's out for the season, but I will read the Mac Jones stat line. 23, 31, 221 yards, 220 yards, no touchdown, 2 interceptions. Yeah, enough said.
Yep.
The Miami Dolphins beat the New York Jets 32-26. The Jets, it's now 14 straight seasons without a playoff appearance?
Yeah, do me a quick favor, though. Can you look up Miami's last 4 games?
I absolutely can.
Because I will say this. Miami is getting hot at the right time. And
Got it.
I think, though, for them to get in the playoffs, they're going to need a lot of luck.
So the first of these 4 games you want me to look, and I'll even go back 5. So these 5 games, they beat week 10. They beat the LA Rams in LA 23-15. Week 11 at home against the Las Vegas Raiders 34-19 win. Week 12 at home against the New England Patriots 34-15 win. Lost in Green Bay. That one was on Thanksgiving 30-17. And then this one, as we mentioned, which was in overtime, 32-26 win.
So they're beating up some lesser teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at their schedule, they have Houston coming up.
Yep, Houston. Houston's a road game.
Yep.
Then they are at home against the 49ers, on the road in Cleveland, and then on the road playing the Jets to close out the year.
Depending on how they survive Houston and San Francisco, they have an outside chance of maybe getting that 8th seed.
Let's see.
Maybe.
Let's see the old standings. Flip it over to playoffs because I got to see if there's any like tiebreakers or nonsense. They are a 9th seed right now. They're behind Indy and Denver. Indy's ahead of Miami because they win the tiebreaker based on head-to-head win percentage. And then the Chargers are ahead of Denver, who's at the 7 because of head-to-head win percentage. So, yeah, I mean, they need to win out and then have a little bit of help with Indy, Denver, and the Chargers losing a little bit. But there's a shot.
There's an outside chance. I mean, but then again, so is Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the team I'd be worried. I'd be worried to face them in the playoffs if they somehow get in, because I think Joe Burrow will go crazy if he ever gets back in the playoffs for this.
Could be. You had the Minnesota Vikings defeat 42-21 the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins, how about that warm reception?
I was going to say Kirk Cousins.
It's a little chilly in there.
Yeah, his tenure in Atlanta, I think, is going to come to an end sooner than later, depending if they make playoffs.
Maybe Atlanta's looking a little genius for drafting a quarterback.
I'm saying they might be smarter than we are.
Then again, the smartest man in the room is Kirk Cousins' agent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy! Then you had the New Orleans Saints beat the New York Giants 14-11.
Giants doing Giants things.
And this is with the alleged off-field shenanigans with a certain model. OnlyFans model. If you don't know, look it up.
Yep.
That's all we're going to say.
Yep.
Then you had the Pittsburgh Steelers defeat the Cleveland Browns 27-14.
Great division rivalry. Very solid game. Russell Wilson's coming to his own.
Shout out Mike Tomlin. Was mic'd up for the What was it? The HBO Hard Knocks thing?
Yeah.
Oh, Coach, you were mic'd up? Shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Oh, my God. Love it.
Amazing.
Then you had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat the Las Vegas Raiders 28-13.
Well, the Raiders are not good.
No, they're not. They're down to their third quarterback.
A lot of injuries. Baker Mayfield's taking advantage of that. And, I mean, they're now currently sitting in the driver's seat in the NFC South. So have to wait and see if they can hold on to it.
Good luck, Desmond Ridder. You're the next man up.
Yep.
Seattle Seahawks defeated the Arizona Cardinals 30-18.
I'm just going to say this. I was very mad, but it didn't come back to haunt me. I had Zach Charbonnet
Uh-huh.
on my fantasy team out on my bench.
Oh.
Yep. But
Oh.
luckily I won. Seattle looking like they're going to steal the NFC West.
Kyler Murray not sucking eggs during Call of Duty season? What universe is this?
No, I mean, Arizona.
He's good, but
Yeah, if Arizona only had a couple more plays, I think they might have been able to steal this one.
probably. Then you had the San Francisco 49ers defeat the Chicago Bears 38-13.
The Bears have jerseys. I mean, that's like the only thing you could say good about them.
Yeah.
Not a lot of great things to say about this. I mean, obviously,
Williams had an okay game.
Williams was all right. I mean, obviously,
134, 2 touchdowns.
new head coach for the Bears and Thomas Brown.
7 sacks, though. Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears are bad.
And this was with a banged up 49ers team.
Yep.
Good Lord. Then we have the last one to talk about, because, hey, my team was off this week, mercifully, was your Buffalo Bills losing to the LA Rams 44-42. I'm going to maintain, before I let you get into your rant, both the Rams and Bills defense got stuck in traffic on the 405. That's the only explanation.
This was a atrocious first half for defense.
Bill Belichick would have been pulling his hair out.
Mm-hmm. The Bills' defense, I was fearing that this might be a trap game because the one thing is whenever the media starts anointing Buffalo and Josh Allen as the saviors of the NFL, they always come out flat
Right.
the following week. It doesn't matter where they are, they just come out flat.
Right.
And I was fearing that they started looking at that game with Detroit and overlooked the Rams, and they did for the first half.
Sure.
The second half, Josh Allen proved why he is the MVP of the league.
Sure.
And he took the game into his hands, except what happened in the fourth quarter, Pat?
I watched, but I don't remember.
What always happens in that last 2 minutes of the game?
McDermott play calling.
McDermott showed up.
Hey.
And this is where it came back to haunt him because for anybody, and I know this comparison came out on a couple places online about, well, so-and-so team beat the Rams and how come the Bills couldn't?
Right.
Does anybody not realize this is like one of the first times all season that Cooper Kupp and Puka have been in the same lineup at the same time?
This is true.
And look what happens.
Doesn't happen that often.
No, it doesn't. So when the Bills had the chance to punch it in late, they did not because for whatever reason, McDermott and the powers that be called the QB sneak.
Oh, this is the one Brady was criticizing.
And you know what? I stand with Brady on this one. I know some people were giving him a lot of flack about it. Why? I mean, first and foremost, it's Brady.
7-time champ.
Yeah.
Basically every quarterback record you can have.
Yeah. The Bills needed to save their timeouts.
Yep.
To go, they needed to punch it in. They needed to get the ball back for a field goal to tie it.
Yeah.
When Josh went for it, I'm sorry, it was the most predictable play that they could have ran.
Yeah.
Everybody knew he was running up the middle. And I'm sorry, you don't have Marshawn Lynch in that backfield. Everybody knew you were going. He should have audibled out.
Yeah.
But he went for it.
Yeah.
And that cost him time.
And I can't help but wonder if he's hearing a little bit too much of the noise between last week with, there was the pass he threw and it went to
I'm sure.
It went to Cooper and then Cooper lateraled it to him, so he became like the whatever person in NFL history to throw and catch a receiving touchdown in the NFL, and then with all the other what was it, Collinsworth going, I got him on my fantasy team. Oh, this is great. And everyone praising him. Like, I can't help but wonder if he was starting to buy into that a little bit too much.
100%. Listen, I might be the only honest Bills fan about this.
Sure.
100% he did.
Sure.
Like I say, he hears this talk. It goes around that locker room. McDermott doesn't stop it for whatever reason.
And that's not to say he doesn't.
In my opinion.
That's not to say he doesn't deserve his flowers.
No, he deserves them.
There are times you need to hear and be like, oh, that's awesome, thanks. And times you just need to go, great, let's move on.
Right, but no, in my opinion, McDermott doesn't stop this because this always happens. This always happens after they come out and they have a great performance on this kind of level. The Rams are not a slouch team by any stretch of the imagination.
They've just been real banged up.
They were really banged up, but they neutralized enough of the offense, except Josh took over. And like I say, he proved why he's the MVP. But when it comes down that late and they get some calls their favor, this is where they should have been smart about the ball. Maybe faked going for the QB sneak and then dish it off to your tight end.
Do the old Dan Marino fake out.
Yeah, do something. But the fact that it was so predictable, this is what cost you the time, and this ultimately cost you the game. Now, granted, could you make an argument for the last Puka touchdown where there was complete holding and pass interference? Yes.
Yeah.
Could you make an argument about the false start that should have got called and didn't? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there were 16 accepted penalties during this game.
Exactly. You can make an argument for whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what plays you make to the ones you don't. And the Bills did not make enough when it needed to count, and they made an atrocious decision late, which yet again, I'm going to say this publicly. If this comes down to a final 2-minute game in those playoffs again, I'm just going to have to do the Tyler Bass treatment and just not watch. Because the minute they were going for it, I'm sitting here watching with my mom.
Right.
And I'm yelling, which, like I say, she's now joined Bills Mafia. Shout out.
Oh, boy.
And it was saying the same thing. Like, why is he not throwing?
And you've been saying this for those of you who haven't listened to the show for a super long time or since the show's inception. You have said this about McDermott since the Houston Texan game in 15, 16?
Yeah.
Whatever that was?
Yeah. He does
and,
this.
and you were watching the end of that game on your phone at an indie wrestling show? Mm-hmm. That you're like, oh, he's going to, and you were saying that he's going to blow it.
Yeah. He does this. I'm sorry, everyone wants to give him a pass about it. I'm sorry, you can't. This is what's going to hold him back, because if it comes down to a 2-minute decision, he overthinks it. And instead of just doing the logical thing, we need to save time. You have Josh, which, listen, if they went for it twice and didn't get it, and then they went for it and tried pushing it in, maybe I could stomach it.
The game I think I'm referring to was the one that was in 2020.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
But it's a situation, though, since he has been running that team.
Yeah.
They've had opportunities late, and he has overthought it at the end. I'm sorry, a squib kick.
Yeah.
Need I say more?
Not really. No.
But this is a situation that they have to figure out, and they had better come out with a great performance. I'm not saying they're going to win, but they need a great performance. They need a close game against Detroit, because this could be a possible Super Bowl matchup.
Oh, easily. Right now it is Detroit by 2.5.
Oh, yeah, because they're home, but that line actually drops, so that's good. It's coming in the Bills' favor. But at the same time, this is where the Bills are going to have their true litmus test.
Yeah.
Because they've already locked up the division. They just need to make sure they don't have any injuries. Their defense did get banged up pretty bad in this game. But at the end of the day, it's due to bad play calling. That's what I'm going to mark it up to. And if anybody wants to debate about it, just watch the tape. When McDermott's in the last 2 minutes of each half, it's not even the fourth quarter.
Right.
He overthinks it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it
tries to play hero.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. There's a point where bravery is not going to get you a win. Mm-hmm. I mean, sure, if you pull off a Dan Campbell, you're a hero. But remember, Dan Campbell is not exactly 100% for going for it on fourth down.
No.
So I'm just putting it out there. In this situation, you had a chance to it, because now if you're the number 2 seed, you're going to need Kansas City to lose at some point, and you're going to need to win outright, and you have Detroit facing you this week. Mm-hmm. That also needs to win for their seeding. This is not going to be an easy test for you. Mm-hmm. So if you wind up dropping to the 3rd seed, which I think they have a legit chance to, then it's going to be a little more difficult, because then they're either going to be facing a Baltimore at Baltimore, or no, maybe they'll have Baltimore at home, but they're going to be facing a Kansas City team pending too. Yeah. Things could get very, very interesting and very, very messy at the same time. A lot of storylines going on with this.
For the record, Dan Campbell this year is 68% completion percentage on fourth down attempts.
Yeah, well, that's what I say.
15 to 22.
He's built that culture there, folks.
And that my source is an article that was written 7 hours ago.
It's not Trust Me, Bro?
It's not Trust Me, Bro, no.
I'm disappointed. Either way, Week 14 is in the books for the NFL. Hit us up on the hashtag ODPH pod. What is your takeaways from this week in the NFL? Let's discuss, shall we? But first, we're going to get a quick break. We'll be right back.
Do you like comic books?
What about movies and TV shows?
Well, we may be the show for you.
We're Hops Geek News, a weekly podcast that discusses comics, movies, and TV shows while featuring a beer of the week.
Every week, we chat about what we messed up on the week before, and then we dive into what we're reading and watching, as well as some news.
We then wrap it up with a geek-themed topic of the week.
You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts by searching Hops Geek News.
Cheers.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and Saturday night's all right for fighting.
Yeah, it is.
Because, Pat, what is going down this weekend?
Returning for the first time since 2008, where you had the likes of an 8-man tag match with JBL, Kane, and The Legacy. Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase taking on John Cena, Batista, and Crime Time. Great Khali taking on Jimmy Yang, and Edge versus Jeff Hardy. The return of Saturday night's main event.
Yes, one of the long-standing traditions of the World Wrestling Entertainment is returning in a very, very big way.
Bringing back Jesse Ventura for color commentary.
I love everything about this.
If he's not glowingly praising the heels and shitting all over the faces for every little thing, he's not even worth the time.
No, this is something that...
Go old school 80s with it. I'm telling you, man.
Well, I think they are. I think they're being very smart about it, so I'm completely here for it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something under the Triple H, Nick Khan, TKO era that I think they're really giving the fans something unique.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless you grew up in that time period, you don't understand the greatness of Saturday Night Main Event.
Right.
It used to be on as an alternative to Saturday Night Live. So the fact we're getting an earlier deal, it's great.
Yeah.
And it's also part of the new... contract they re-upped.
It's an agreement between NBC and WWE, because we know the next one is going to be from San Antonio, Texas, at the Frost Bank Center. That one will be on January 25th.
Yeah. So the fact that we're getting this since 2008, now it's back in a big way, and it really caps off a kind of a wild weekend. I mean, obviously coming off the heels of Survivor Series, War Games.
Yeah.
There's been some storylines going on. This past week's Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, kind of a little more low-key. Mm-hmm. I would say they didn't really have super crazy storylines.
It's just building up to a main event, though, so they're kind of like that. Because if I'm not mistaken, the next pay-per-view isn't until the Rumble.
Correct. Not until February.
Which is in February. So we got a decent chunk of change before the Rumble. And let's face it, we just got to get a couple matches for that figured out, because the majority of that's going to be taken up by the men and women's Rumble.
Mm-hmm. Oh, indeed. So, I mean, to give us a little something, they're doing the building blocks. The only thing that we really had this week, I mean, obviously, was DIY stealing the tag team titles from the Motor City Machine Guns.
And the heel turn. Good.
Love that.
That was masterful.
Love that.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah, but Monday Night Raw was kind of more low-key, too.
I mean, listen, all we got to say about Monday Raw is fuck Biggie, or not fuck Biggie, excuse me.
Whoa.
Freudian slip. Fuck Kofi Kingston and fuck Xavier Woods.
Yes.
Near Roman beating Undertaker levels of heat. Near.
Just pair him with Dominic Mysterio for 6-man and let the crowd go crazy. But get him in front.
I'm going to give you a better one. Ridge Holland.
Well, I mean, I could see that happening too for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
I would say this though. I think you got to do it in front of a really hot crowd.
Okay.
In my opinion, the crowd was okay for Monday Night Raw, but that wasn't one of the really loud ones.
No, I mean they were loud for the New Day segment.
Yes.
Which why you got to do the man Stu like that? Come on.
Yes.
Gotta steal Stu's camera.
But that's what I say. They're trying to get some heat going, especially like we say, leading into this weekend's card, because there's a lot to break down with that.
Yeah.
So let's go through the card and give our predictions about what's going to go down on Saturday night.
Yeah. So the first match we're going to talk about is the tournament final for the inaugural WWE Women's United States Championship, and we don't know the final outcome of this because that's got to get settled on Friday, but it's going to be either Bayley or Chelsea Green taking on either Michin or Tiffany Stratton. So I think it's going to end up being Michin versus Chelsea Green, with the ultimate winner being Chelsea Green.
Listen, I hope you're right about that, because I don't think Bayley needs this.
Right.
I really don't think Tiffany Stratton does either.
Right.
Because I think Tiffany, being Miss Money in the Bank, that's enough for right now.
Well, and plus the other thing too is WWE announced the agreement, quote unquote, between the three general managers of SmackDown, Raw, and NXT, the transfer portal, borrowing a term from soccer. But we got to remember the one thing we did see Monday Night Raw. We did see Tiffany Stratton talking to Adam Pearce. Yep. We did see Bayley on Monday Night Raw. So it's very possible both of them could end up on the transfer portal to Monday Night Raw.
It will be interesting, especially with the Netflix first show January 6th.
Yeah.
So you will see a lot of moving and shaking going on there. But I think for this tournament, though, I'm really hoping it's Michin versus Chelsea Green.
Okay.
I would listen. Whoever wins this, I'd be happy with.
Oh yeah, agreed.
So I will just say this: if Chelsea Green or Meechin are facing different opponents, I hope that they win.
Yeah, I'm good with either one. I know Chelsea said before that when they announced this tournament, her creative mind was already like spinning 1,000 different ideas of what she could do with the belt. I say give it to her, let her run with it.
I would love to see Chelsea, so I'm going to say, listen, you can flip a coin, but I'm going to say Chelsea for this one.
Yeah. Next up is a singles match for the Women's World Championship with Liv Morgan defending her belt against Io Sky.
Well, this has been stemming out of War Games a little bit, and honestly, this is going to be a sleeper match of the night.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time they're going to get with this because I think this is building for another storyline going on, which
probably
we did see with Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez this week.
Yeah.
So that being said, I think Liv retains.
Yeah.
But there will be some shenanigans involved.
Yeah, I agree. Liv is going to retain, but this isn't going to be a clean pin in the ring. Like Raquel's going to come out. Kairi Sane and Dakota are going to come out for the other members of Damage Control. Rhea's going to come out. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be shenanigans. So Liv will get the pin, but it won't be like, oh, she did it without assistance. And I think what it's ultimately going to lead up to is probably a triple threat at the Rumble.
Yeah, I could see something. Well, it depends. I will say maybe a triple threat on the first Raw of Netflix.
That would make more sense.
Because I think Rhea is going to be in the Rumble.
Oh, God, yeah.
So that's the only reason I'm saying against it. But I will say this will lead to a triple threat. Like I could see Rhea costing Io inadvertently.
Sure.
And hitting her and knocking her out.
Sure.
I could see that happening. Sure. So I'll say Liv retains, but with shenanigans.
Yeah. Then we have what was supposed to be a singles match for the World Heavyweight Championship, but on Monday Night Raw it got, because Finn Balor just can't help himself, it got turned into a triple threat. It was supposed to be Gunther taking on Finn Balor in a singles matchup, but because of the shenanigans that ensued on Monday Night Raw and at the request of Gunther, and we know Damian Priest wasn't exactly going to be protesting this decision, it got turned into a triple threat between those three individuals. So you got Gunther taking on Finn Balor and Damian Priest.
I thought this was actually going to be happening at the Netflix show.
Oh.
I did make comment about this on Monday Night Raw since we didn't have a chance to do one breakdown last week. Or on Wrestling Night Live, I should say, excuse me.
Right.
Every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Nerd Initiative YouTube. So that being said, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I know you're going to be excited about me saying this.
Okay.
I think Finn Balor steals it.
I would love to see that. Listen, I'm a Finn Balor guy. Love Finn Balor since he made his debut on NXT and did the whole demon thing. I was over the moon when he won the inaugural Universal Championship, and I was gutted when he had to forfeit the damn thing less than 24 hours later. I know people like to say 24 hours later. It wasn't near the time when he won the belt the night before, so it's less than 24 hours. So to see him get another run with the belt, I say fucking let's do it.
I think this would be a situation where it shakes up the internet. Now, I don't know if he gets a lengthy reign.
Sure.
That's the only downside to this.
Listen, it'd be longer than his last one.
Right. But I think you could do something here with it.
Sure. I think there's a lot of stories that you could spring out of this between Finn, Gunther, Damian, and even the rest of Judgment Day.
Well, that's the whole thing. I think Judgment Day is eventually imploding here. And it's just a matter of when, not if now.
Yeah.
So with Damian Priest, though, I think he's a little lost in the shuffle because unless you're setting up for stipulation where he comes back and he faces Gunther like at a Royal Rumble, and there's a stipulation involved with maybe I'm just kind of throwing this out there, maybe in a steel cage, to keep outside interference away. If they do something like that, then I could see this continuing. But I think in Gunther's situation, you've got a couple different options here. That if he loses, he can go enter the Royal Rumble and win that. And then he gets to call his shot. Like, do I want to go back and face whoever? He might not want to do that. I mean, it all depends, too. He could easily retain, which I could see happening. But then what do you do with Damian and Finn?
Right.
That's the only issue I have. So I think you got to switch it up somehow and do an end new.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I'm going to go out on a limb and say Balor because nobody will see it coming.
I'm going to say... I want to see Balor. I don't want to, but I'm going to say it's probably going to be Gunther.
Yeah.
Just because I don't see them switching it up there. Next up is a singles match between Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre.
Well, this is now reestablishing Drew McIntyre as a threat to take down Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and everybody else. Was reported he was going to come back later, but because of the injury to Bronson Reed, which as being reported today, he's now out through WrestleMania. Yeah.
Which, God, I hate to hear that. Brought him back a little bit early.
Yeah, which, I mean, Drew's ready to jump back in there and definitely speedy and healthy wishes to Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
So with Drew, I mean, he's definitely a plug and play. You can kind of get him in any storyline and get going, and that's the great thing they have with the little triple threat action they have with Seth and Punk.
Just trying to cement his hater of the year title.
Yes, so I think he takes out Sammy.
Yeah.
I mean, Sammy's the ultimate underdog.
It's going to be a good match, but yeah, no, Drew's winning.
Yeah, Drew has to win this one.
And then you got the main event, which is a singles match for the undisputed WWE Championship with Cody Rhodes defending his belt against Kevin Owens.
Well, this storyline has really escalated over the past couple weeks.
For the record, unlike Kevin Owens, we are not doing this podcast from inside of a car.
No. We will definitely not be doing that anytime soon. But for Kevin Owens, I mean, he's been putting on great work. I mean, this is why he's always in the main event scene. This is why he's always someone you can plug and play in any situation. And he's a great opponent for Cody right now, chasing the belt. The only question you have here is, would WWE do something wild? If Gunther doesn't lose his title, would they have Kevin Owens take the world title from Cody?
I mean, it's the first Saturday night main event on public broadcast television since 2008. So, we're almost 20 years since then, whatever the math works out to be. You would figure, seeing as the next one is in a little over a month, you would want to build anticipation, and there's already going to be a big enough crowd audience for this on TV, just because NBC's been promoting. It got promoted during the Sunday Night Football game. NBC's been promoting it everywhere. I'm more than willing to guess a number of the superstars, male and female, will be on. What's the morning show over the Today Show?
Yep.
They'll make the rounds on the Today Show this week leading up to it. So it's going to have a massive audience, but you're going to want to increase that audience. So it would not surprise me in the slightest if they do choose to go with the swerve and have, because you would figure out it's television show, they wouldn't do a title change. Nobody figured it would happen with AJ Styles overseas in London. But it did.
Yeah.
So I'd be real interested to see, because I feel like the safe route is I'll just have Cody retain. But let's see what we can do with this. Let's see where we can go.
The only way I see Cody retaining is if he goes heel.
Rhodeslander.
If he goes Rhodeslander. Yes. If he finally goes Rhodeslander.
We should have trademarked that so many years ago.
Yep, I know. I'm hating myself for not doing that. Dude, we could. I don't want to get into it because I'm getting mad. But if he goes full Rhodeslander.
Yeah.
And he gives like a nut kick to beat Kevin Owens.
Low blow.
Yep. Then I could see the win.
There might be something there.
Because
do like the Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ.
Yeah. Yep. I think you can do something there, and I think that would really build towards Mania, depending on where they want to go with it. Because I still think we're going to have Roman versus Cody, but how is the crowd going to react? That's where I sense we need to go Rhodeslander and let him go.
You almost have to turn Cody heel, because there's no way you get them to boo Roman.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, that's one problem they got right now.
Because you did an entire 2 years effectively of Roman beating the shit out of Cody, and it worked then, because Cody was the white hot babyface, and everyone wanted to see him finish the story. Well, he finished the story.
Yeah. So now you can throw a new chapter in there and really mix it up. Or, I mean, it all depends, because if they want to build towards Cody and Roman at WrestleMania,
which I think is the plan.
I think it is the plan, which I'm perfectly fine with.
Yeah.
I think this is the method you go about it. So that's where I say, I guess I would say a final decision. I will be happy if Kevin wins, but I think Cody goes heel here.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which way I was going to go, but I'm leaning towards Cody wins, but through heelish tactics.
Yeah. So that being said, I mean, there's gonna be a hell of a night on Saturday with a card that's definitely gonna make some noise.
8:00.
Yeah, so 8:00 on NBC, not Peacock.
No, both. Well, it's on Peacock as well.
It'll be on both, but definitely one to go watch and check out. So hit us up on the hashtag ODPH Pod. What is your predictions for WWE Saturday Night Main Event? Who's walking home with the titles? Let's talk about it. And for more pro wrestling talk, every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Nerd Initiative YouTube, it's Wrestling Night Live. That all said, one more segment left. We're going to get a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is Tom from Tom Joe Lou,
This is Matt from Sideroom Sounds.
and you're listening to ODPH Podcast.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH Sports Podcast. And there is one story that we have to deep dive into. I guess we'll have to put the disclaimer on it.
The thoughts, views, and opinions are that of Ken M. and myself and do not necessarily reflect the views of anybody else because, hey, we're the only ones here.
Yep. We'll say for Nerd Initiative, so we don't get in trouble there.
Nerd Initiative do not reflect the views of Nerd Initiative. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, the great soap opera of Juan Soto, and where was he going to go after the World Series has finally come to a startling conclusion because late this weekend,
I believe it was Sunday night.
he made his choice. And it is a choice that was shocking. It was infuriating to some. It was mind-blowing because Juan Soto has now signed the largest financial contract in professional sports history.
And I think that's across the entire planet, not just North America.
Right. We're talking European football. We're talking NFL, NBA, NHL. You name it. This is the number one contract, I believe. And hashtag ODPH pod if we're wrong, because I don't think we are. That said, he is signed to play baseball with
the New York Mets.
Yes, that is not a misstep. That's not a mispronunciation.
Nope.
Juan Soto has left the New York Yankees, where he came on a one-year deal after the Yankees traded a lot of their key farm system.
There was a few pieces.
To the San Diego Padres to acquire him.
Yep.
And now Soto is going to be the franchise player for the New York Metropolitans. And there is a lot to process with this. So, Pad, why don't we go through the contract first?
Sure. So it is a 15-year base salary. So effectively, this is the minimum he will make, is $765 million. This includes a $75 million signing bonus. All $765 million of this is guaranteed. So this is the minimum he will make. And then he will average an annual salary of $51 million a year. So, and I just want to point this out, as we currently record, he will be making more money than the Athletics, the Miami Marlins, the Cincinnati Reds, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Detroit Tigers, and the Chicago White Sox. And he comes just under the Tampa Bay Rays in terms of payroll, which is ridiculous. Then you get into some of the nitty-gritty details. There is a player opt-out after the 2029 season, but much like the Garrett Cole opt-out that he had, the Mets can void that opt-out and will add an additional $4 million to his contract for the 2030 through the 2039 season, so for the final 9 years of the contract. There are no deferrals in this contract, so there's no Bobby Bonilla situation. There's no Shohei Ohtani situation. You know, everything's up front. Once the contract is over with, they don't owe him any further money. There is available escalators. So effectively, you know, if you win an MVP, you get this much. If you win, you know, an all-star selection, you get this much of $15 million. So this contract could get pushed to $780 million. And then with the and let's face it, he's a Scott Boras agent or client, I should say. He's going to opt out after that. Once that opt-out has become available, and Cohen's not an idiot. He's gonna they're gonna avoid it. They're gonna add the additional $4 million on. So effectively, by the time this is all said and done, the Mets will have paid him $784 million, and this is real good for him because he lives in the state of Florida.
Yeah,
no sales tax.
No, definitely not. So there's a lot of reactions to this.
So let me say this as an unbiased baseball fan. For the Mets, you know, for the first 5 or 6 years, this is going to be a great deal for them. He is, as we currently record, 26 years old. He just turned 26 back at the end of October. His birthday is October 25th. So for the next, I'll say 5-6 years, which puts him right at the time of that opt-out, this is going to be a great deal. You're going to get him at his absolute best, you know, in terms of his power, his contact, you know, how he's seeing the ball, being able to hit the ball to all parts of the field, you know, just everything you would want out of him. It's going to be great. But after that 5-6 years, which puts him at that 31, 32-year-old range, then it's going to start to hurt a little bit. You know, the power might slip a little bit. The contact might not be there as much. He might not be able to put the ball opposite to whatever field as he once did. And then once you get further into this, and this is even going on the assumption, they do like the Phillies did with Bryce Harper, and they moved Bryce Harper into first base to kind of try and extend the contract and extend his playing days a little bit. Even if you move him into first base, it's still going to go the same route. Paying the guy 55, because again, he's going to opt out. He's going to get the $4 million. So Cohen's not going to let go. Cohen's not going to let go of his prize free agent. You're going to be paying either a first baseman, or for those of you who don't know, there is now a DH in the National League. You will be paying a first baseman / glorified DH $55 million a year at the end of his contract when he is in his late 30s. He'll be 40 years old by the time this contract is over and done with. That is highway robbery.
Oh, completely. I think the one thing that is the biggest takeaway from here is Juan Soto worth $800 million?
Absolutely not.
No.
Now, $400 million? Sure.
Well, you could
for straight. Now, if this were Shohei Ohtani, absolutely. For he is a once in a generation, once in a century. We haven't seen something like this in over 100 years when Babe Ruth was doing this.
Exactly. That is the problem with this. Now, I understand why the Mets did this.
Yeah.
The Mets, if you're not from New York, you might not realize this. The Mets have been in the shadow of the Yankees since the dawn of time.
Since they became a franchise in the early 60s.
They have always been considered the little brother that could never amount to big brother success.
Yankees, 27 world titles. Mets, 2.
So with Steve Cohen taking over, and Steve Cohen is a very wealthy owner.
Yeah, hedge fund manager.
He went all in about this signing because he has been saying that he wanted to make a big splash. They did not go get Aaron Judge.
Yep.
Which, honestly, I don't think anybody thought he was going to be leaving New York.
No,
when he was up for free agency.
There was a part of me that was afraid, but
well, there's always a part,
Yeah.
but you saw the loyalty, and he understands the tradition that comes with the Yankees.
Yep.
Soto is literally, for lack of a better term, in my opinion, is a mercenary for hire. And he's made it very clear he was going to go to the team that paid him the most. Cohen and the brass with the Mets overpaid him leaps and bounds.
Oh, God, yeah. The Yankees were offering him 16 years for $760 million, reportedly. And then the Red Sox, who were one of the other teams, because it was the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, Dodgers, and Blue Jays. I have not heard what the Blue Jays and the Dodgers offers were or allegedly were, but I did hear the Yankees was 16 for $760, and the Mets was 15, or not the Mets, the Red Sox was 15 for $700.
Yeah, and I think that
regardless, all three teams, the biggest contracts in those franchises' history.
Oh, completely. Which you have to really consider what you're getting.
Yep.
Soto is a once in a lifetime hitter.
He's a great hitter.
He's a great hitter, but there's only so much you can do with that bat in a ballpark that is not hitter friendly.
They've changed the dimensions like 3 times,
right?
At least,
and that's the problem with the Mets is that park is still not hitter friendly.
No.
So
although he does have a ridiculous OPS in Citi Field.
Oh, I'll grant
it's over 1,000.
I'll grant you that, but at the same time, what he does is he took the biggest money offer possible.
Oh, yeah.
And listen, I'm not blaming him for doing this. If some team was foolish enough to pay him over $700 million, and I do mean the Yankees are in this conversation too.
Sure.
And he went there, I would understand. I mean, we said for a long time, give him a blank check. But at the same time,
there comes a point where you got to go, this is ridiculous.
This is astronomically ridiculous.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani getting $700 million makes sense.
It was shocking, but when you consider the fact that he does something nobody has done successfully, there now before the universal DH, there were plenty of pitchers in the National League who could hit.
Yeah.
None of them could hit to the level Shohei Ohtani does.
That's the thing. Ohtani is a special attraction.
He's an albatross.
Yeah, because we haven't seen a player like him since Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
I understand that. Like, that's why I say he's a special attraction.
Yeah.
So are we saying Juan Soto is on that same level?
No.
I'm sorry, he's not. He really struggles fielding. If you haven't seen that, trust me, go on the internet. You can see for yourself, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
I don't think anything lies about that.
No, you're not wrong.
And I think in comparison, like Ohtani is a needle mover. Like that's what I mean by saying special attraction.
Ohtani is a global needle mover.
Yeah.
He goes anywhere. The cameras are out. The people are following him, whatever else. Now, that's not to say Soto doesn't have his own following.
Sure.
But if we're talking percentages, it is a lot smaller percentage compared to Shohei's.
Mm-hmm. Shohei, like I say, I can understand commanding that.
Yeah.
Soto, I don't. I'll be honest with you. Like I thought when we got around $600 million, I thought like that was a good place for it.
Yeah.
I did not struggle with that.
Yeah.
It being over 7 was pushing it, let alone by the time the smoke all clears, he has a full chance of walking home with $800 million.
Yeah, easily. And so to people saying, oh, it was only a difference of $5 million. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
It was about $40 million.
If you did the math, it's ranging anywhere between $40 million to $100 million, which I lean towards the $100 million probably when all is said and done.
Yeah.
So I understand why the Mets did it. The Mets needed to make a big splash. That's where Cohen went in. Scott Boras is no idiot. You might not like him.
If you're an NFL fan, he's the Drew Rosenhaus of MLB agents.
Yeah, he's very cutthroat, but he gets the job done.
What's the Rich Paul? He's the Rich Paul of MLB agents for you NBA fans. I don't know any agents of similar caliber in the NHL, but I'm sure those of you sitting at home can think of one.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. He's very cutthroat. He gets the job done. And he goes to maximize his stuff. I mean, it doesn't always work per se, but in this situation, he knew he had teams that were vying to get Soto's talents.
Yeah,
and they needed him.
Yeah,
the Yankees needed him, but there's a lot of conflicting rumors, and I want to stress that point: rumors coming out.
Rumors
that there was a little more going on behind the scenes that was not going to fit for both Soto and the Yankees roster and organization as this. So that would make more sense. Plus, in my opinion, I don't think he wanted to play second fiddle to Aaron Judge.
I would 100% agree with that.
Because at the end of the day, and I know the sports media has been reporting a lot on saying the Yankees franchise as a brand is dead. The Mets overtook him with this move. Pump the brakes.
Yeah.
The Yankees have a rich history. And it's not like losing Soto is going to bankrupt them.
They're still a very good team without Soto. They're not great, but they're still very good.
But here is the thing. It's still the Yankees. When we go into the offseason every year as fans, the expectation is World Series.
Yep.
With the Mets now getting Soto,
you have to win a World Series.
You have to win a World Series. But the problem that you have is, in my opinion, you're the third best team in your division still.
Yeah.
You're not Philly.
Yeah.
And you're not Atlanta.
Atlanta's stacked, not Dodgers stacked, but they're stacked for a few years.
Yeah.
They got their guys locked up long term.
They're going to be just fine. Same thing with the Phillies.
Yeah.
So the fact that Soto helps you there.
Plus, there's that other team, the Los Angeles Deferrals.
Oh, I wasn't even getting to that. I was getting into that.
Yeah.
But then you take a look at the rest of that whole league. And you've got the Dodgers poised for a dynasty run. So how you think this is an easy route to a World Series if that is your true goal? But and like I say, it might not be Soto's.
Right.
It might be it's supposed to be the Mets. Though.
I don't think Soto's got a World Series win with the Nationals.
Right.
From what was it, 19, 18?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
But
he's already got his championship ring. I don't think he cares. I think and this is where I go back to this. I think he just wanted the most amount of money.
Oh, I think he did too.
And that he told Boras, his agent, get as much as you want, because I flash back to when Judge signed his contract with the Yankees for 9 years, $360 million. Nothing. There's no escalators. There's no. So he's going to make $360 million with the Yankees. He received a $415 million offer from the Padres, and he turned it down
because he grew up in the Yankee system. He knows he can make that money back in endorsements.
Yeah.
It's still the brand.
Yep.
So that being said, Soto going over there, he wanted to be his own guy. I mean, that must be his motivation.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that, because I think while it was great for him to hit around Aaron Judge, because it made it. Let's face it, he had one of the best years statistically, offensively, in his career.
Yeah.
But that's because he had Aaron freaking Judge, the 2-time, should be 3-time. Fuck you, Jose Altuve.
Yeah.
MVP hitting around him.
Yeah.
And that fucking helps. But now you go to the Mets, who they've got some good pieces. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know, they've got Lindor, who's very good. You know, they've got Nemo, who's also very good. You know, but none of them can hold a candle to Aaron Judge.
Yeah, that's the point. And especially for the Mets, I'm waiting to see what other moves they do, because remember, they got hot after Grimace threw out the first pitch this past season.
Yeah.
They weren't exactly considered to be contenders.
I mean, the Mets added Clay Holmes, who was the Yankees closer for a few months this season.
Yeah.
Which, hey, cool, great, you know, but now they're going to try converting him into a starter, which good fucking luck with that. And if all else fails, you can at least fall back and put him in the bullpen if Edwin Diaz decides to implode again this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, it's a great addition. The Mets have to win a World Series, you know, I would say in the next 5 years, because anything after that, it's going to be you won the World Series, but ...
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole problem right now. But the Yankees are going to still be the Yankees.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I went through probably the 5 stages of grief with this whole thing in the span of like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Because it came out from a number of baseball writers I follow that the deal was going to get done, or he was going to decide Sunday night. So I was really in the middle of the Bills game, you know, flipping between Twitter and Reddit, the baseball subreddit, like waiting on the deal to happen. And then John Heyman, of course, Scott Boris's personal mouthpiece, in my opinion, came through with the news, and I went, fuck, they lost him. And so I went through, you know, the anger, the frustration, the sadness, but then I came to the conclusion, I'm like, he's a great player. I loved watching him for the one season, you know, he was in with the Yankees. He's not worth almost $800 million to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line.
He's not even, he's a great hitter. He's a generational hitter, but he's not a 5-tool player.
Yeah.
He's not a guy that, like, don't get me wrong. If I got a base runner rounding third and the ball's in his hands, I'm giving some pause, and you know what? That might be in the back of my mind if I'm the third base coach. Shit, do we really want to run on his arm? Is it a red light? Like, fuck, stop the brakes. Don't run on his arm. It's not there.
Yeah.
You know, is he a gold glove defender? No.
No, by no means.
You know, but I just look at him like, he's not worth it.
No, I mean, that's the end of the day. It's not worth the money he got paid. And now what's going to be the problem for a lot of teams in all sports moving forward is he now set a benchmark. Well,
depending on the circumstance. I know some people, because Vlad Guerrero Jr. is going to be a free agent next season, and everyone's like, oh, you just set the benchmark for Vlad. No, Vlad had one good year.
No, but for players,
sure,
yes, because where $400 million might have got the job done,
sure.
I think now it pushes that up to the 550 range.
Maybe. I think it depends on the case.
It depends on. Oh, of course. Well, it's all case by case.
Yeah.
But this is the problem that you have, because now this is now accepted, and owners are going to pay for this.
Sure.
So now, if you're in a situation where there's a salary cap involved,
which, boy, I'm certainly more towards.
Listen, it's not a bad idea for baseball. I'll say that right now. But in this situation, when you have an uncapped salary limit, this is what's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of teams. And some players that were only going to get maybe $100 million over X amount of years, they're now going to be pushing for 150 to 2, and that causes problems because eventually you have to hit a budget somewhere. And sure, you can have the Cohen tax, as you were talking about off air.
Yeah,
but it's going to cause problems for the owners, and then it ultimately comes down to ticket sale prices and everything else.
Yeah, well, today Mets fans, enjoy the $30 hot dogs you're about to get.
Right. Well, that's going to be the whole thing too, but it all comes down to, if they don't win a World Series, it's all for nothing.
Yep.
The Yankees, at the end of the day, might have came out better for not signing him.
I would say so.
Because
the Yankees had a lot of needs, and tying up $800 million into one guy would have really hurt their chances for getting other players. And I just want to point one thing out, because I pulled up the career highlights. Soto is a 4-time All-Star, World Series champion in 2019, 3-time All-MLB first team, All-MLB second team once, 5-time Silver Slugger Award winner, and a National League batting champion. The one thing you might have noted when I read off those career highlights, how many of those were defensive?
0.
Bingo.
Yeah. So that's why I say they're going to have to figure that out in Queens. And however they want to do that, like, listen, more power to him.
Yeah.
I just think that if he was solely looking to be the man, he's got to win championships. Getting paid is one thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not faulting him on that. But if you ask Aaron Judge what's the most important thing, his contract or the fact that he can lead the Yanks to a World Series for the first time since 2009,
World Series.
you've got you already know the question. If he's got to show up in those World Series. Though.
Oh yeah.
And that's gonna be something too. But
Yeah.
the Yanks have not really slept too much. They did a big free agent signing as we're coming on air.
Yeah, they signed left-handed pitcher Max Fried, formerly of the Atlanta Braves, to an 8-year, $218 million contract pending a physical. This according to Jeff Passan of ESPN. He says, quote, "It is the largest guarantee in baseball history for a left-handed pitcher." So his stats from last season, Max Fried went 11-10 with a 3.25 ERA. Started in 29 games, had 166 strikeouts in 174 and 1/3 innings pitched. So you might look at the win-loss record and go, it's not great, but it is the Braves. So they weren't the greatest. But you know what? For a middle of the rotation, starter, in between, because I'd say Cole's obviously number one, Rodon's number two. You got Luis Hill and Clark Schmidt in there as well. I'd say you throw him in there between Rodon and Schmidt. That's not a bad number three.
No, definitely not a bad number three. They got a lot of moving parts they can do.
Get a reliever, pick up somebody on the infield because, hey, you've got Jazz and Chisholm still locked up for 2 more years. DJ LeMahieu's coming back, so obviously DJ, for those of you who don't know, can play literally the entire infield. I think short of maybe catcher.
Yeah.
And then Jazz he's played third. He can do second. You pick up somebody else on the infield, you get another outfielder, you pick up a reliever, and you're looking a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, you can go get, Arondo there.
Arenado's name's been thrown out there.
Christian Walker's
name's been out there.
Cody Bellinger.
Bellinger's been. I know they've been attached to Corbin Burns, the other starter. He's been thrown out there.
Profair got thrown out there. That was kind of a left field one.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple names that I'm looking. I'm like, if you can get them for the right price, that's not bad.
Right, and I think that I'm not doubting they try moving DJ.
Could be.
And if you can make a deal for the
Cubs, you could try moving Nestor. You could try moving Stroman.
Yeah, they've got some.
I'll put it to you this way: you've got Fried. If they end up getting another starting pitcher, there's an odd man out in that rotation.
Yeah, so they can definitely make some moves happen. So
yeah.
For everybody thinking the sky's falling on the Yankees, it's not. Did it take a blow? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Did the Mets get the back page of the Post for a couple days?
Sure.
You know what, though? What's going to happen in October? That's the big takeaway. Because, sure, he got paid, and listen, more power to him and Scott Boras. They made the craziest contract in history because they found an owner that went all in to make some headlines.
And let's face it, $5 million difference, at least before you get into all the intangibles or whatever, is what the final difference was. Cohen was never going to be beat.
Yeah.
He literally said, whatever the highest offer is, I will beat that.
Yeah.
So this is literally a bidding war with a bottomless pit.
Oh, yeah, which, I mean, and the thing, too, I mean, you're conflicting reports that the Yankees were allowed to counteroffer to or not.
Yeah.
I think at that stage, it got to a point where if Cohen was really going to break the bank on one player, he was going to. But then you also have to realize you have to field the rest of your team. Mm-hmm. Signing Clay Holmes is not the tipping point to get you to a World Series.
God, no.
And the fact that your team is still the third best team in the NL East.
Let's not forget Clay Holmes' implosion during the midseason.
Oh, of course. That's what I was alluding to.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you're still the third best team in your division. You're not there yet. You might be losing Pete Alonso. He has not re-signed.
Correct.
You still have a lot of holes to fill. So congratulations, you took the headlines, but until you win a chip, it's all for nothing.
I mean, listen, the Mets got a great batting order. Their rotation, though.
Exactly. So
the rotation needs work.
Which was much like the Yankees this past season. So just saying.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to wait and see how it all pans out. But for Juan Soto, leaving,
good luck.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But you know what? When the Yankees win a World Series and that's the talk of the headlines, we'll see what happens in 5 years because, things do move fast in this world of sports. That being said, for anything and everything, it is the ODPH. You find it at odphpodcast.com. That's it for sports this week, Pat. Did we get our venting out of the system?
I would say so, yeah. Like I said, I went through the 5 stages of grief on Sunday night in 30 minutes, but I'm okay with it.
I mean, I had that in the Bills game going on, so trust me, I had a rough Sunday night.
Your heart rate.
Yeah. Thank God for other things. We'll just put it that way. We'll just put it that way. Like comics and such, which we'll be talking about in the next edition of the ODPH podcast. I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening, and we will see you next time.
such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know. 'Cause anyone who's worth a damn be worth way more than a picture could ever show. You could find the right light, find the right angle, and never find your soul. And it can feel like a losing battle, and this plot is full of holes. This modern way of finding love just makes me feel so alone. And I can't be the only one sick of staring at my phone. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Don't know that I believe in the old time fable. Everyone has just one true love. All I know is you're across this table, and you're all I'm thinking of. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Ooh, ooh, talk to me. Ooh, talk to me. It's such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know.